Right, so what we'll do now is we'll go ahead and return the needle case back on the machine, or the head. Before we do this, what I do recommend is go ahead and oil these exposed points. I have one up here. I'm going to put some oil back on there on the take-up lever driver. Down here at the bars, we'll go ahead and squirt some directly on the bars. Have that nice and lubricated. And what we need to do in order to put our head back on, just to ensure we're in the right spot, is we'll go ahead and turn on our machine. What we recommend is to remove the head while the needle, you have a center needle in position. For 12 needle machines, that would be your 6. For 15 needles, that would be your 7 or 8th needle. You want that to be positioned, that way it's easier to maneuver the head. Okay. Now that we have our machine back on, we'll go ahead and take a look up here. You'll notice we're on number 6. And we have a question mark on our degree. And if you look on the side, since we were working with the head and we were manually moving the knob up and down, we might not be at 100. So before we proceed, let's go ahead and just bring our machine back to 100. We could do this using the 100 key. If you have a PT model, you could do this by locating the M.org button on your PT model, or you can manually just move the knob and position the 100 mark inside the dot. Okay. Once we have that, we want to make sure that we do have our center needle. I am currently reading 6, so I'm going to go ahead and move over to needle 8. The color change motor will move. It will position itself to 8. And now what I'll do is I'll go ahead and take the needle case or the head, and I'll start by bringing it in at an angle. And what I'm doing by bringing it in at an angle is I'm trying to catch this rail on that hook, which is what holds the bottom portion of the head. Now while doing this, you want to make sure you clear any sensors or any cables that might be in the way. Okay, once you have it on that hook, and notice I can practically let it go, the hook is holding the bottom of the head. I need to slide this before I push it into place, and I need to position my physical needle over the hole, over the needle plate hole, and I need to make sure it's the same needle that I'm reading on the screen. Okay, so I have my number 8 here. My hook is holding the head, and notice these bearings I have here. The main function of these bearings are to land in the groove of the eccentric cam. Okay, so you see I have that lip right there. That's actually going to wedge up against these 2 bearings here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to push up, and this will fall in place. If you have a little bit of trouble, you want to just play around with it a bit. It will eventually snap in place. Okay, so I'm just taking this off and bringing it back on. Notice I do have to use a little bit of force and a little bit of movement up and down, but you see in the video where it actually falls in place. If we look back here, you'll notice those 2 bearings wedging right on the cam. Now we need to go back and make sure that we did land on the needle we designated, which in this case here is 8. Okay, and we'll go back to our screen and make sure we are on needle 8. Once we do that and we've made sure we're good to go, and it's time to attach the center of the head to its rail. Now you notice my rail here is off to the left a little bit, or you can notice it here, and these are the holes that the head actually attaches to. So what I'll do is I'll just slide this into place, and I'll line this border up flush, and they both should fall right on the edge. I will go ahead and take my head screws. These are the ones that hold the heads. They do have double lock washers. I'll go ahead and bring these back on here. And get these tightened up. I do want these to be nice and tight. Any little bit of movement from the head could result in a needle break, or it may result in a loss of registration or loss of positioning on your design. Okay, once that's tight, we'll go ahead and give it a test before we continue putting the rest of the accessories back on. What I'll do is I'll go to my needle selection, and I'll just move it. I want to make sure I have a nice glide from one end to the other. You do want to be careful with your sensor. Okay, that seems to be working perfectly. And we'll go ahead and continue putting the rest of the parts back on the machine. we'll go ahead and bring our cover, followed by our check spring bar. Then finally we'll continue and finish off with the top tension base. Okay, you do want to make sure you slide this sensor back on there. Okay, and notice there's a groove. That groove will be off to the left. The board will be on the right. And you do need to slide this on the back first, so just make sure once you slide it and you bring this base back over that it does look just like this from the back side. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I've put the take-up lever cover using these two Phillips, and I've gone ahead and just presented the check spring bar, and it goes through, and I'm going to just go ahead and tighten this up. Finally, I'm going to place my tension base. Okay, and this is where the sensor comes into play. We want to be very careful. What I'll do is, with the groove to the left, I'm going to go ahead and slide the sensor back on the trail, like so. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and bring my base up, and before I finish connecting this, I'm just going to go ahead and slide that into place. Okay. Go ahead and slide that back on there. Cut it. Okay, so I have gone ahead and put the base back on. My sensor is in place, and the reason this finger holds the actual sensor is so it allows the sensor to stay in place as the head moves back and forth. Okay, all we have to do here is go ahead and return our 4 hex screws. We can return our cover back on there. We have completed the change of the pressure foot driver. And if you have any questions, feel free to give us a call or visit us at RiCOMA.us. Thanks for watching.